good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. Hello. It's been nearly 2 weeks since the last stream. Life has gotten in the way, in a good way. I hope everyone's doing well. Let me switch my phone on silent. As always, talking about the recent couple of videos. And it's the last couple, I've really been focusing on procrastination, mostly. Delaying things, I've talked about it recently on and off in a few videos. And the regret of not doing what you're supposed to do is at the heart of a lot. Before we get to that, one thing I do want to just address and give note to is people commented every now and then who have come by that let me pop out the stream so I can read your comments, guys. And if you want to ask me a question during this stream, if you're live, if you want to ask me a question in this stream, make sure you add 3 yellow or orange brightly colored circles or emojis before your question when you type your question in towards me, if it's directed to me, just so I can see it in this live stream that it's directed to me. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of you guys chatting and talking about the topic amongst each other and in general, which is fine. But if it's specifically towards me, make sure you put 3 bright colored circles before your question so I know it's for me. So hope everyone's doing well. It finally feels like summer. It's starting here in Australia. Really good weather, mid-20s. Sunday morning, heading towards Christmas, another year gone. Time is certainly going quickly, especially the older you are. Time just feels like it's going quicker and quicker and quicker. There's a scientific reason for that perception. I think it's because when you're younger, you've only lived this much. So it depends on how long you've been alive, your perception of time. So every year goes by quicker as you get older because you've lived so many years. The smaller amount of years you've lived, time just doesn't feel like it goes as quick. Look it up anyway. I'm butchering the explanation, but anyway. The topic of the last video, my problem with waiting to be happy. It was a personal perspective. Again, I was very careful the way I worded the video and the title. It's my personal opinion about it. I don't want to sort of get in there and say like, the reason you're not happy, like telling people why they're not happy. And hopefully from this, you can maybe glean your own answers. And, I had a very different perception of my sense of control with the world and why I wasn't where I was, or I wasn't completely happy, or I was irritated, or I wasn't sleeping quite right, or I was constantly on the treadmill of looking for answers all the time. How's your sleep affected? Things like that. I remember all I have to do is look back on, say, 5 or 10 years ago, when I was really aggressively searching for answers in my content. And it was this driven way of going for runs in the middle of the night, 2 or 3 times a week with my headphones on, listening to podcasts, taking notes on my phone, like really kind of searching for answers, like I was getting close to something. And then I was doing it for years and it was just kind of burning me out. And I was energized, but my life wasn't better. I was just always like a twitching bird. And I compare it to my life in the last couple of years, where I slowly sort of like, I just wanted to live that better life. I wanted to walk my words and walk the talk and things like that. Not just talk about it, from a know-it-all position of theory, like like a university professor. And then once he leaves his job at the university, he goes home and goes to the supermarket and he kind of pauses that part of his life. And then he only feels alive when he goes back to university or puts his head in a book. I didn't want to feel alive just when I had my head in the book or when I had my head down writing notes and, journaling and producing videos. Like I just felt energized but everything I was trying to figure out was in relation to the world, but I wasn't trying to um, to connect those dots and check those boxes between my ideas and my passion and the world, if you know what I mean. Let's change that. Is the stream coming in? Better be. Otherwise, I'm talking to myself. 8243. What's my bit rate? Well, I can't change my bit rate at the moment, YouTube. Hi to the regulars. Hi, Donna. Welcome back. Hope you've been well. Peg, Feral Android, Sean C, Tristan, Boffin, how are you, man? He says, I feel alive when I'm eating. Is that wrong? No, your body feels alive too. So yeah, the question is kind of regret underlies a lot of what I've been talking about in my last video and in the last, I'd say 1 or 2 weeks, is trying to have that feeling less. And I posed a poll last night and I said, if I can sum up my biggest regrets, this is me. Again, I want to be sure to make it I want to be aware to speak more personally about what I think, just so you don't get the spurgs and knee-jerking and saying, oh, humans saying this, or so what you're saying is, I'm making it abundantly clear, this is what I think. Someone who's got a modicum of intelligence and self-awareness knows that if somebody's speaking, it's their opinion. Of course it's their opinion. It's coming out of their mouth. They're not the overlord of the planet Earth that is forcing you to do and say and think what no one's telling you how to live and what to do. I don't know why people get offended or annoyed. But anyway, I'm trying to say, voice it in a way that I'm saying, this is my opinion. Do what you want. I don't care. I do care if it goes badly for you, but I can't control it. Like, you're going to do what you're going to do in the end. All I can do, and all I hope to do and interact with people, is having mature live and let live discussions where we're not trying to tear each other apart, but we're trying to stand up for what we believe is right. And through those conversations, we walk away and then we decide, what our moral code is going to be, what our personal ethics are going to be, things like that. So I said, if I can sum up my biggest regrets, they would be wasting time in complacency, whether it was staying too long in a bad job or staying too long in a bad relationship or just procrastinating about something I never did but knew that I should, or at least should have spoken up about. And I asked, do you agree that most of our frustrations with love and life largely boil down to waiting for the right time and putting things off, sometimes too long? And an overwhelming amount of people generally said yes. Again, most of the stuff I talk about is general. They're not hard and fast rules. Some things are hard and fast. The sun rises in the morning and sets in the evening. There are things that are absolute, notwithstanding some sort of fluke or miracle happening. But generally, we can talk about reality. We can talk about how people generally act. This is why when I talk about what the average modern woman is like, it's kind of the middle of the bell curve. It's if you picked 1,000 women in public at random, and you ask them certain questions, you would get a general feel of what they're like, what they want, what they don't, what their attitude is, what their motivations and lack thereof is, why they're having the problems they are because of that attitude. You get a general sense. And so whenever an individual pops up there in the comment section and says, "You're generalizing," of course I am, and with good reason. So when we go out there and deal with the general population and general jobs and general workplace, there's some sort of understanding of how it tends to operate. If you go out into the forest, right, and you come across dogs or wild dogs, most dogs generally in the forest are going to be wild, wolves or wild dogs or whatever. You might come across a domesticated dog in the wilderness that got lost from its owner. Could happen, but if you see a dog rustling in the woods and running towards you in a isolated forest, you're going to think wild animal. So there's no point saying, "Well, human, you're generalizing. It could be a cute puppy that just wants to be patted." Let's be sensible. This is the funny thing. When people run up against survival, when their life's at stake, no one's politically correct. Everyone's like, "Oh, guys, help us here. Women, tend to the household." Anyway, but yeah, this doesn't surprise me, and I think if we want to put a general umbrella over most of our problems, that can help clarify. A lot of times we get clever and we go, "Okay, let's go down the rabbit hole of a specific problem, say with dating," but then there are these variations, and we start sort of, from each issue we're trying to solve, we get very clever, and we're finding like 50 different branching out points from that problem, and then we follow one of those branching out points, and there's more branching out points, and then it just becomes like a spider's web, and you can't make sense of it, and you can't hold it together to form a solution, because it radiates out in different directions, realistic different directions, but it's not useful to you if you want to pull it back to find an overall solution. And the way you do that is judging the general before you get to know someone. So all these topics and this information about women and how women act and dating and the laws and stuff, it's useful. But as I said in recent videos, when you decide to go on a date, it's all mostly about her and deciding how she separates from the herd of women out there. Why you would want to go on a second date, why she's special enough to commit to her, why this job is the exception to the crappy jobs out there, why it fits with what you're skilled and good at and what you're passionate about, why this work environment has a great culture, that you like the people there and how they work and how they have a work-life balance, things like that. You have to make it personal for your personal life to be happy, because whether it's jobs or anything else, it has to integrate into who you are. And it's not if you don't first find out who you are, which a lot of people don't because they think it's airy-fairy and woo-woo. But you really need to find out what your personal moral code is, your moral philosophy, what you intentionally write down, even if it's in your head, what you think what you stubbornly know of yourself. Like, these are my ethical rules. Like, I like chocolate, I don't like vanilla. If I had to choose between chocolate and vanilla, chocolate every time. If I had to choose between A and B, B every time. That's the kind of stuff that is like really important. That's the kind of working on yourself, if you want to use that cliche, cheesy term. And then when you go out there dating jobs in the world, you're not relying on luck. It's much more intentional, because you know where you stand on these things. You know what woman does and doesn't work for you. You know if this chick is a bit of fun and you keep each other at a distance and you keep it honest. You know if this person is relationship material. You know if this job is worth committing to, or whether it's worth keeping your options open, and because you've had experience in other jobs, just things like that. Anyway, let me get back to the stream. Again, if you want to ask me questions in this stream, put 3 yellow or orange brightly colored circles before your question. Uglife says, not a question, but for your information, I showed your channel to another streamer, and I think she's going to reach out to chat with you. Talks to a few people in the manosphere. Name is, okay, not so erudite. Okay, We'll see. I'm kind of particular who I talk to, not because I'm snobbish, but because I want to get a feel of if their channel, if they're interested conversationally in the same sort of things, whether their personality and mine would sort of gel and make an interesting conversation for both of our viewers. Because I've done chats with people where they're nice people, but it's kind of awkward. They see and think and talk about things in a very different way of life, and I kind of it's not a natural free flowing conversation. There's some people that just don't get along with other people. Um, so it all depends. I don't want to guarantee I'm going to speak to anyone, but certainly if I really like what they're doing on their channel and if they like what I'm doing, and not just I want to talk to this person to get clicks or I want to network, that sort of business like BS, I'm not interested in much of that. I'm interested in genuine conversations where we can really, there'll be value in the outcome of the conversation. At the very least, it'll be sort of a natural free flow and things like that. I'm much more interested in having friendly, good, open conversations rather than manufacturing them. I don't like manufacturing friendships and relationships any more than I would manufacturing recorded chats online. So we'll see. But yeah, thanks for letting me know. August Lang says, I'm guilty of everything human is saying. That doesn't surprise me, August, because a lot of your comments, I've resonated over the years with your comments as well. This is why I always kind of zero in on your icon, because a lot of what you say, like, I'm on the same page with as well. So it sounds like we think and live and react to the world in very similar ways. And I think it's up to everyone to do the same thing. I know people want objective answers because they are capital T truth, kind of, they work. It's a formula that works. A leads to B leads to C. But unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that matters, that we live for in our life, that has like a really meaning to us, like the stuff that has meaning to me, that gets me up in the morning, that makes me feel alive, is not objective. It is completely subjective. So if you can, to use a phrase, rationally understand your subjectivity, not objectively, but you can objectively through language and how you think, but understand your subjectivity and really make that solid and clear, and understand that, yeah, it doesn't make objective sense. It's very personal, but you know where you sit on all of these topics and where your yeses and nos are. Then you can cherry pick. Like the world's a buffet where you go around with your plate and you're like, yeah, I'll have some of that. Nah, I don't like that. You know what you want to put on your plate because you know what flavors and tastes work for you. You know, a lot of that comes through experience. Because there were comments related to my last video here about regret and the problem of waiting too long, where I understand, like, people's defense comes out and says, well, you can't be reckless. I've always said, I'm not talking about being reckless, not jumping out of a plane without a parachute. Thank goodness for the mute button when you're burping. Defeats the point when I tell you I was burping. Yeah, it's about jumping out of a plane because you always wanted to, and that gives you like supreme purpose and meaning in your life, and you feel alive and you feel awesome. You know, it gets you up. You're stimulated. You're not just like a lemming plodding along in the grey world, but you jump out of that plane because you really want to, and the risk the rewards outweigh the risk. And you practice, you research it, you have a professionally well-packed parachute, you're skilled and experienced in parachuting, and that's why you jump out. And to the layperson that doesn't put a lot of effort and attention and stuff into that, yeah, it's risky and it is reckless. It's one step away from jumping out of a plane without a parachute. But I'm talking about calculated risks. I'm always talking about having courage, you know? Not being reckless. Firstly, I wanted to sort of mention, I got sidetracked before, but a lot of people have been asking recently because my Discord channel got cancelled because it's a popular channel, but it's very politically correct, all that sort of stuff, the stuff we don't like in channels like mine where you want to have an intelligent, open conversation where we don't care about snowflakes. If you're like, I'm of the opinion, if you're offended or hurt by a general opinion of something that doesn't match yours, it's not my problem. Deal with your own feelings. I didn't direct something to you specifically. I didn't direct it personally at you. If I didn't say, hey, Jeff, I think you're an idiot because you do X, Y, and Z. I mean, Jeff has a legitimate reason to be personally offended. But if I say, I think people who do X, Y, and Z are silly or stupid, I can't see the point, and then people who I haven't directed to that comment to personally get offended, then I think you're overly sensitive. Most of the problem I think of the world today, for me and most of you guys, I would suspect, is lowering the bar so much for the overly sensitive snowflakes who would never lead society, who would never further society. They're just kind of 5-year-olds who want to be taken care of. You know, I've got sympathy to a point, but yeah. Anyway, I've gotten to the point where I can't say certain words that objectively in and of themselves are legitimate. And you can't actually, I can't talk about, look, put it this way, even to help people get stronger and better in and of themselves. Say you wanted to talk about, I can't even say the word, say you wanted to talk and strengthen people and help people overcome and think better of themselves about turning their lights off permanently in life. Say you wanted to do that. You can't even say the word that begins with the letter S. So I can't even maturely talk about the subject because it doesn't matter how I speak about it. I can't say the words at all. So I have to talk in a PG rated Nickelodeon play school style, like milk and cookies, kindergarten way, talk around the subject where people have to decipher a mature topic, and then it loses all of its importance. It loses all of its seriousness. If I have to like dance around the daisies on something that needs to be spoken about directly, yeah, I've got a vocabulary and I can be direct, but I also lose the people. I mean, if you've already got the vocabulary I'm using, chances are you're more than likely going to have a strong disposition and you're not as fragile. So how am I supposed to help someone without the words, who's lost, who wasn't parented well, who's grown up in this overly sensitive PC culture? I can't even use the words to directly help them. Thank you, Leo, for the donation. I appreciate it. His super chat comment is, thanks for everything you have done for myself and many in the past 4 years. I can say you and Coach Greg Adams are the only ones that have truly made a positive change in my life after my divorce 3 years ago. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Leo. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. If any of you want to ask a question, again, feel free to super chat. And it'll definitely be read out during the stream, or put 3 yellow or brightly colored circles before your comment during the stream. Justice of Sad Alfred says, human, I'm 23, have a 4 years in business, debt free, good savings, love creative things, want to travel, work, study abroad. Thoughts? Do it. Thoughts? I think you knew what I was going to say. Do it. If I was in your position at your age, yeah, I would just do everything I wanted sensibly. And yeah, because all of this stuff that I want people to avoid this. I want them to avoid regret. And I'm talking, and I was talking in the last video about not waiting too long. I'm talking about being prudent, which generally is the acting with or showing care and thought for the future. You know, calculated risks, prudent planning, and then when you know you should, you do what you know you should do when you should do it. Because a lot of us, we're just fearful. I'm not talking about procrastinating, delaying and postponing things intentionally and habitually, and looking for every excuse under the sun to make excuses like, oh, why didn't you start writing the book, human? Ah, because I was blah, 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 and this got in the way. But you did a lot of other things, didn't you? You still found time to go for a run. You still saw your friends. You still went to work. You still watched that Netflix series you binged all week. You did everything. But the thing you say is important. You keep we are using velvet gloves with the thing that's so important to justify putting it away safely. It's kind of like a watch that we value the most and that we only pull out in special occasions. It's amazing how often we procrastinate and justify our procrastination, not doing what we should do. There's so much stuff we can just do today. You know, I'm sure a lot of the guys, especially in the male self-help areas, will be on board with Stoicism. And Stoicism is just largely, if you can sum it up, concerned with separating life into components, that which you can't control and that which you can, and only focusing on what you can control and doing it today. Memento mori. You're going to die someday. As Quasimandias said in a recent comment under the video, which I'll read out today if I've got time, he sort of said, it's really good, and the Stoics knew this, and the Latin phrase memento mori is, which is part of the Stoic sort of tradition, and focusing on this, is meditating on the idea that you're going to die, meditating on death. And it sounds morose, but it is a positive aspect to it. It's telling you that there's no time other than today, this week, now. Plan prudently, so that you plan so that you can realistically start now. But if you can start now, but you just want to perfect your starting point, it's a load of BS. And I'm putting my hand up to sort of be guilty of doing this over and over again. Quasimandias said, consider how many more summers do you have left? How many more summers do I have left? 20? Less? More? You know, most people try and pedal really fast when they're close to the end, but then either their body or the situation they're in that's causing them to have so much fear to pedal really fast and try and live so much in the limited, fragile, debilitated time they have left. It's kind of like, why wouldn't you live, if you want to physically enjoy life to its maximum, you do it when you're most physically able. You don't say, yeah, I've got time ahead. I know it's natural for us, especially when we're young, to think we're going to live forever. But the meditation on death is an important one in Stoicism. Do it now, do it now, do it now. Don't be reckless, but prudently do it now. And a lot of it is due to fear. We're just too chicken shit to do it. Me included. Okay. Under the poll that I recently had about do we think that most of the things we're frustrated in life just circle around regrets of not speaking up, not saying no when we want to say no, not saying yes when we want to say yes, saying it sooner rather than later, leaving earlier rather than waiting too long, jobs, relationships, things like that. Not trusting our instinct. Yeah, red flags. Yeah, I shouldn't go to her apartment. Yeah. But yeah, let me just, my hormones, So, yeah, should we have waited? Do we wait too long? And being honest with ourselves and using this knowledge from the male self-help area of the online space, realistically using it. We use it in practical aspects, I suppose. Like, we know we should exercise. We know we need to go to the gym 3 times a week. We need to suck it up and just, do, 5 sets of this exercise if we want our lives to be better in a certain way. But we really should try and implement that way of thinking and that control when it comes to our philosophy. Eric says, in terms of biggest regrets and do we wait too long? Not really. You generally do what you feel like doing at the time. Trying to force some paradigm of hustle on yourself is pretty silly, in my opinion. Again, I'm not saying to force yourself, but if you really know you're just procrastinating and being lazy, I'm saying you really need to just take the step and find a way that you can turn that mental dial to just be able to do what you know you should do. Because what happens every time you just take the step and you have those rare moments where you just do it, as the Nike motto goes. Every single time afterwards, you're grateful you took the step. We always hear, I should have done it sooner. I should have done it sooner. I should have done it sooner. And if someone were to say to that person, no, you shouldn't have because of X, Y, and Z, that person would righteously defend, no, you're wrong. I was lazy. I was procrastinating. I should have done this sooner. I should have felt this 10 years ago because I could have. There was no reason why I couldn't have felt this feeling 10 years ago. If there were things blocking you structurally in the world, you were in a place or in a situation where you couldn't, fair enough. But if there was no other reason other than fear, laziness, sort of clever lexical ambiguity, which I'm guilty of myself, and being too clever to avoid, basically using cleverness to be lazy intellectually, I mean, that person will defend it, because if you could have felt this way much earlier on and you know it, that's the regret, that's this. And that's what I want to help guys avoid, because I'm doing my best as I get older, that whatever time I've got left, because all I've got is from now till the end, I want to take the advice that I knew I should have done or taken earlier on. And I hope it helps some people. GW says, as I see it, wrong action and wrong inaction are to do with a lack of wisdom and maturity. Yes. You can't help. You're not going to make you make a reckless decision if you just jump off that plane without the parachute. You just you're doing it via peer pressure, or you're just a thrill seeker or reckless. But I'm saying use a good balance of the prefrontal cortex as well as balancing the animal side of you. GW continues, I don't mean that in a patronizing way, as I believe most of us lack this level of insight. He's talking about wisdom and maturity. And he continues, and I mean that literally, to be able to see deeply into ourselves. I believe most human beings do not have a deep relationship with themselves, primarily due to the age we live in. Yes. This age is a very tough one that almost encourages people to be dumb, passive, and not lift themselves up and not be proud of themselves. It's like everything is okay. Being overweight is okay. Everything's fine. Even though it's eating you up inside. Even though you can't sleep at night, you're fragile, you hide from the world, you don't know what to say. It's okay. It's not okay. And you know it's not okay because of what you feel. Anyway, he continues. Because of the age we live in, blah, blah, blah. We are looking to dissect other things with our intellect and our science, yes, but we have only a superficial understanding of ourselves as human beings and individuals. We rarely look inward, if ever. Yes, and I agree. And as I say, the culture does everything to infantilize you and keep you at a 5-year-old level, looking up to mummy and daddy, no matter how much they abuse you, because you can't survive without them. And mummy and daddy in this context is the laws, the government, the censorship, the PC way of talking and speaking and walking and quacking like a duck. So they're actively trying to keep you a obedient, dependent child. The world isn't designed to make everyone a fair, reciprocally, cooperative individual. You can't control people that way. They're controlling people more than they ever did. Think about how much more populated the world is and how much control it is compared to when the world was less populated. We were more separated. There was more intellectual introspection. Yeah. He continues, so inaction and action coming from a base of ignorance are usually quite damaging. I agree. He says, how do you know when to stop and when to go if you don't even know what you really truly want and what your purpose in this lifetime actually is? Yeah. If you don't know who's looking, how do you know what you're seeing? There's a saying, I think it was by Michael Sarian. He said, people are always looking for new experiences, like I need to find myself, right? He says experiences don't need to be continually renewed. You don't need to keep finding yourself because it becomes an addictive cycle. Just ask the people who continually go to every single Tony Robbins seminar. You know, they just go there to kind of keep their head above water. But none of them, I don't think, are seriously trying to be their own Tony Robbins. So Michael Sarian, I think he said, it's not experiences that need to be renewed. It's the eyes of the experiencer that need to be constantly renewed, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I agree with GW that how do you know when to stop, when to go, what to say yes to, what to say no to, if you're just trusting on what other people say you should be saying yes to and no to, if you don't really know what you want and who you are. So as cheesy as it is, a lot of the stuff that's true that will help us has been bastardized by Oprah-styled self-help garbage that is just looking to make a quick buck off you, buy their book or whatever. And they're just kind of parroting words that other people have said. Just go into any self-help book today. The newest self-help book by the latest author, she's just kind of parroting cliches that are true, that she's heard online or from other people in social media that work, and they've just collected things that they want to freeze in time rather than being in a social media feed. They want to freeze them on pages of books that you can buy, and they help them and they want to help other people, but it's just cliches, page after page after page. And when you read their words, they're cliched sentences. They're not even their words. It's like, I've heard this before. This person's speaking through another voice. And you only get to do that when you are self-reflective. And also if you've read. If I read Hemingway, I can see a very big difference between the style of Hemingway and his voice, and he's talking about everyday life, compared to when you read Tolstoy, or if you read like Chuck Palahniuk or whoever, that individual voice that has chewed on things, that's who you need to become, your own author, your own guru or whatever, where you can spit these words out and they're not cliches. Anyway, get off your high horse, human. The Faded Hero says, it's easy to fall into a trap of blaming others for our circumstances. It brings a level of comfort to think, well, there's nothing I can do, so I'll just wait. You can't control the bad things people do to you, but you have 100% control of whether those bad things fuel your drive or break you. Try and you may fail, wait, put off, or procrastinate, and you'll get nowhere, guaranteed. Yeah, you cannot control how you feel or how the world is, or what other people do, or external things. You have control. The only thing you have control is your reaction, how you respond to things. How you choose to respond to things is in your control. With some people, depending on their past experience, their resilience, who they are, people have closer to 100% control. It's never 100%, depending on the circumstances and your mood and your history and your wiring and your parents and your DNA and a whole bunch of things. But your choice to try as best as you can to control how you react to things is at the heart of having more control in your life and feeling better and having more tranquility in your life. But if there's always an excuse, if there's always that external locus of control, or if the scales of your internal and external locus of control, if it's like so far weighted, you give priority and you look for every excuse to be externally controlled, then you will. Confucius, the man who can and the man who can't are both completely right. And if you understand that, that's at the heart of all of this. Conscious Bias says, the right moment is right effing now because your life is short. Exactly. Little concise sentences like that really bring into focus. They encapsulate a whole chapter of a book. A whole chapter of a well-written book is encapsulated in a really, really beautiful sentence. Much of why memento mori, or a lot of Stoic philosophy, when you can remember one line. AJ Taylor says, I would say about 90% of our frustration with life comes down to waiting for the right time to do something, and even waiting for so-called permission to say things. Yeah, you wait for permission. You're waiting for the right time to give you permission to do something. You're waiting for the right time to give you permission to say something. You're waiting for the right time for the right person to give you permission to be this person, to be happy, to say this thing, to not say this thing, to stand up for yourself. You need to be given permission to be pushed far enough to stand up for yourself. Why can't you just give yourself permission in a very calm way to stand up for yourself in every moment when you know you should, without anger, right? Why do you have to be pushed to a point, whether it takes years, months, like to the limit, to be able to be you and say what you know you're like, to be proud to say what you want to say? Why? Again, it doesn't mean you need to be bring the point of anger closer to be able to speak up, but why can't you just take that and bring it to the moment of everything, to be honest? Doman says, yes, I would agree, but the whole picture is more complex than just waiting for the right time. We're not waiting for no good reason at all. We're waiting because we don't know ourselves well enough, and consequently we have no clear direction, or even have wrong direction. It's not so easy to know yourself better and to know where to get high quality information for better decision making. There's so much distraction being sold to us on every step. It's hard to get clarity. Yes. Again, I completely sympathize with a lack of experience. The younger you are, the harder it is, because you're giving false information. You are being actively told the wrong information to keep you down, to misdirect you, to make mistakes, right? So I can sympathize with that. I'm not saying to be reckless. If you're really, your spider sense is tingling and saying, don't do this, then don't. I'm saying when you know you're just being lazy or procrastinating, or you keep habitually going through the same patterns that I wish I wasn't this same person I've been for the last 5 or 10 years, that whenever I'm confronted with this situation, I can never say the words, or I can never do the thing. I can never quit. I can never say no to her. I can never say yes to this woman. I can never approach this person. I can never proudly give my opinion in this context. That's what I'm talking about. When you know what the answer is, but you just can't bring yourself to do it. You're a confident adult in private when you write on the page. When you're on your YouTube channel, for instance, with me, I'm speaking of me. But then when it comes to actually making it real, being proud of yourself, that it's not just in the safety of the online sphere, in social media, it's not just in the safety of your journal, but you can translate it to the real world. When it comes to the real world, most of us are 5-year-old children who don't give ourselves the permission to take the journal and speak it in real life. That is what I'm trying to encourage. So any more comments in the stream, because I've been blabbing? I appreciate the thankful comments about the videos I'm making. I appreciate that you guys are watching it. Hit the like button, subscribe. Let YouTube know that you actually appreciate it. I'd rather, I appreciate the donations, guys. It helps. I put it back into the channel. I pay the electricity, internet bills, like it goes into gear if I need to upgrade them, so it keeps the channel going. So basically every donation, every subscription, and people who join the channel, I put it back into the channel in terms of keeping it going through electricity and whatever, and equipment. But yeah, at the very least, if you want to help out, click the like, watch the videos all the way through, comment, interact. That would help me out more than anything, but I appreciate any kind of monetary donations. Let's see. Schlitz, thank you very much for the donation, the super chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Remember, guys, if you really want your comment answered on the stream, super chat it and put a comment in your super chat and I'll see it. It stands out like a lot. Channel 1800 Dumb says, thank you for your super chat. Firstly, he says, human, an Aussie, an American, and a Kiwi walk into a bar. So my question to you is, who is the coolest? Haha, bless you and the fellas. Thanks, man. Who's the coolest? Depends on personality. Aussie, American, and Kiwi. Needs to be in context. Yeah. I'm not one of those people. If you want to talk about a certain thing, like I'm very happy to kind of say, oh, generally like Germans tend to be like this, or Germans are known for this, or even have a laugh and say Germans are like this in a fun way that might not be completely accurate, but everyone knows the cliche is accurate. Like, for instance, no one would think most people would think it's not funny and very inaccurate to use a cliche from 200 years ago, because it's nothing what like life is now. But if most men or most women or most Asians or most blacks or most whatever in their community tend to be a certain way, it's not me making fun of them. It's kind of like, yeah, they're this way, you know? I mean, is it being racist? Here I go. I don't know what YouTube's going to say. Is it being racist if I say that most African Americans, most young people, the culture, like really enjoy? If not, it's the main entertainment. They like hip hop, rap. Especially guys love basketball. I love basketball. But is it like, where do we get to the point where we just have to be so neutral that we can't like? It's just dumb. I don't even want to get onto this topic. It's so stupid. You know my stance on this stuff. It doesn't mean you particularly. If I meet a person like, James, the black guy, and I get to know him, he doesn't like basketball. He doesn't like hip hop. It's like, fine. But if we're both being mature and intelligent, we can look at the world, and I'll say, hey, James, would you agree? Like, I'm not saying this is so, but I want to get a first-hand account. You live in the community. By what you're telling me, you live like smack bang in your community and you've seen the variations. Is there enough variation, or is the predominant community, do they like A, B, and C? And what frustrates you? And what's right and what's wrong? What would you wish to change? Get it from the horse's mouth. Of course, I agree that there's a point of ignorance where, from your ivory tower, like you've never read a book on Switzerland, you've never visited Switzerland, but you think you're an expert on Switzerland, and you're condescending and demeaning, and you wipe your ass with Switzerland. That's different. Anyway, let's move on. End of rant. Farrell says, sometimes I regret not waiting. Look, sometimes, let's be honest here. On aggregate, again, let's generalize, but my audience is fine with generalizing sensibly. On aggregate, let's generalize here. Between waiting to do what you want to do and know to do, and balance it with like not waiting. If you're clear on it, generally the right answer is not to wait and to do it when the opportunity is there, when you can. Because I think most people just look for excuses. They're used to the habitual pattern of doing nothing because it keeps them safe. Your survival mentality is like, yo, human, we did nothing about this yesterday, but think about it. And we didn't die. So maybe we should just think about it and not do anything again today because we'd still be alive. That's logical. But if you do something about it, you're going to change your state dramatically. It's no longer going to be thinking, it's going to be acting on it. And then we're going to start thinking of every possible negative scenario based upon actually acting on the best information we have. Yeah, regret is an awful, awful thing to live with. Do you think that, even you guys who are into building businesses and making money and going to the gym, you look at a guy who's jacked, who obviously sees disciplined, he knows what he's doing, and he puts action into everything. Or the guy who's got, 10 supercars. Do you think it's like, oops, I became rich, or oops, I got the best body in the world. No. As there's a point where it's like, just effing do it. Stop procrastinating. And that's what I want to encourage guys to do. Bradle says, thank Richard Cooper for this one. Instead of the S word, permanent solution to a temporary problem. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Crummy VCR says, human reminds me of Chuck. Chuck who? A Palahniuk? Am I that transgressive? Channel 1800 Dumb says, I wish Coltrane was not on a break. Loved his collabs with Human. Yeah, collab. Coltrane is cool. Yeah. Spetsnaz as well. He's a cool guy. I haven't heard from him for a while. Spetsnaz, if you're around, my Discord got cancelled. There's a link in my about section on my YouTube channel, everyone. If you want to link and go to another community I've set up aside from Discord, because Discord is too PC, because I can't police it. Some of you guys just say the dumbest thing and post the dumbest pictures and things that it gets me cancelled. So if it's going to be a public forum where you can say and post and do anything, sorry, I just can't police it. Like, there's a lot of you people there, especially the people that aren't my core audience, that, I don't know, it needs an environment that doesn't get policed or censored. And so go to Gilded. I've got a link to my Gilded channel, server, where you can chat like I used to on Discord. It's in the About section. There's a link to it on my YouTube channel in the About tab. More coffee. Johnny Derp, thank you for the super chat donation. I appreciate it, man. His comment is, Merry Christmas, man. Stumbled onto your stuff earlier this year, and it has marked a turning point. Good to have reasoned voices out there and not just another Jim Bro spewing game. Best of all things to you in the new year. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Same to you. And to everyone, have a good holiday. Have fun. The thing is, look, when I started my channel, it was venting and getting a lot of stuff out and speaking what I kept hidden and unzipping my mouth and saying my yeses and my no's. It's natural. You vent. And you kind of, once you've released the pressure valve and, the volcano stops erupting, it sort of settles. And you kind of bubble maturely and sensibly with this conversation. And you look to make your life better. Sitting in a pool of lava all the time, like boiling and then feeling alive, it's only good for so long. And after a while, you sort of, it's like, hang on, I've been a so-called, informed and a so-called expert in my own mind, in my own world about this stuff. But I'm still habitually going through dating and jobs and life. I'm still doing and saying the same thing I did like when I started my channel. I'm only being my real self online, and I just go into old reflexes offline, both in my language, how I speak and how I act. So I'm a prescribed robot in real life, but here I've got no strings online. Logically, cut the strings, be the same person over there, be proud of yourself in the real world, because that's what we're frustrated about. Channel 1800 Dumb. Thank you again for the donation. I appreciate it. He says, Riggs Jr. is a poopy pants human. Tell him I said so. How dare he? I'm sullen. I think I'm missing the joke. I don't know what you mean, Channel 1800 Dumb. Remember, if you want to ask me a question during this live stream, put 3 yellow emojis before your question, so I know they're a question directed toward me. All right. Let's look at some comments under the recent videos. My most latest one is my problem with waiting to be happy. Coaching for Today says, what is right is completely subjective, and often we do what we think is right in the moment, only to discover later that we had imperfect information or we deceived ourselves into narrow thinking. I tend to judge myself more on doing the best I can with intention, including others when I can emotionally, mentally, and financially afford to do so. For me, happiness is a self-aware journey of intent, embracing the uncertainties that my human decisions bring. Yes. When you've got capital T truth information as the foundation of your subjective decisions, like, again, we know that running blindfolded through a forest at night is going to kind of be short-lived, and you're going to run into a branch or a tree or something. But running with a torch or something, like, I'm butchering this analogy, but you know what I mean? Like, having the information to guide you in a more certain way and then taking the calculated risk is the way to go. But I agree with lack of experience can be more risky. So do your best to gain experience and know the right direction. But when you've got, you've got the enough information or more than enough information, stop looking for perfection and just accumulating information, especially the same information. You look at a lot of guys and what they talk about and how they speak. They're a broken record of saying the same things. It's like, dude, you've got all that, you're speaking the same information over and over again. There's no new lingo. There's no new vocabulary. There's no new insights. You're not talking about what you knew yesterday in new language with new insights. You're just pressing play on something that you discovered 5 years ago. And I heard it 3 years ago, and I heard it 2 years ago, and I heard it last week, and I'm hearing it today. And I'm not saying you need to reinvent yourself, but the real present person chewing on that information, it needs to be in real time, not an echo of when you felt liberated by hearing a line of women are this, or society, or the key to life is blah, 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 blah. You can't be frozen in time or in thought. Conscious bias. Yeah, I already read that one. This is an older video. Dan F commented on this, an older video of mine of when will he change? It's actually not that old. It's only a few months old. This is, he's relaying a conversation that typically men have with women. He says, what's wrong? And she says, nothing. He says, no, really, what's wrong? And she says, well, if you don't know, then I'm certainly not going to tell you. Yeah, this is at the heart. Like, women communicate really well. Yeah. Generally, not really. It's kind of, I think this is what frustrates people in relationships. The marketing that they say, I'm like this, men are like this, women are like this, and then in the relationship, you specifically, you resemble nothing like what you said a man is or what you are. A lot of people on dates, I've said this over and over again, they will market not even the best version of themselves. They will market to you who they want to be. You know how you tell yourself to, next week I'm going to get fit? They actually believe that if they speak it on a date, they're marketing who they're going to be next week when they're with you. Now, I'm this person. Like, I'm already believing I'm this person. You're not. I want to know who you are now and who you've been. I'm sorry if you haven't been that person till now, but I want you to be real with me. If you've been this person until now, I don't care who you want to be. I can only realistically make a choice on like who you've been and who you are now. I don't care about your fantasies. For all I know, you'll never go on that diet, even though you deeply want to. Masculinism movement. He says, women love reverse psychology and projections. Yeah, he was commenting on an old video I did, which was Who Hurt You? So when guys talk about their legitimate grievances in terms of like how they've been treated unfairly by women and like all these passive aggressive games over and over again. No matter what different women you go on, the same game is played out by all women. It's like they've got certain software that they all use in relationships. Passive aggressive, not saying what they mean, expecting you to read their minds, saying they didn't do something when they did or didn't say something when they did, and blah, blah, blah. I said in that video, when women, like when you're legitimately saying, oh, I'm having, like, this always happens over and over again with women, and women dismiss you like it's all your fault. And in the end, even if you've got a good reason for your frustrations with women in relationships, because you want a good relationship and you're frustrated, you're doing it the right way and you keep doing what everyone tells you you're supposed to do. And whenever they say, oh, who hurt you, in a dismissive way, I did that video and I recommend you watch it from memory. I enjoyed making that video for one simple point I was making. Whenever women in society says, oh, who hurt you, as though you're being dumb and childish, think about how those people are saying, oh, who hurt you, as though it's nothing, as though your pain is nothing, right? Or they're saying, oh, you're so silly about being hurt. Someone just hurt you. Why are you feeling hurt? It's nothing. What those women especially are saying when they make fun of you for just being hurt is that I wouldn't have been hurt. Someone just hurt you. I wouldn't have been hurt. I would have felt nothing because I never loved the guy. I didn't care about the guy. Why are you hurt? You're being silly. You're being childish. Who hurt you? It's funny because they never cared about the person because it wouldn't have hurt them. That's what I was saying in that video. So in memory, I thought that was I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I thought it was like something that a lot of guys don't talk about. They just talk about, they don't like being shamed by someone saying, oh, who hurt you? As though you shouldn't feel hurt. But what it's saying about them is that they wouldn't feel hurt if someone dumped them or double-crossed them. They would, but in that moment, they're showing their lack of empathy, saying like, usually girls say, why are you hurt? Oh, who hurt you? LOL. Because I wouldn't have been hurt. I wouldn't have cared about getting my heart broken. I wouldn't have cared about a 3-year relationship coming to an end. Why are you hurt? Tee-hee. So I thought that's interesting, what it says about the person saying to you who hurt you, or you just can't find the right person. Whatever the little shaming comment is, what does it say about the other person? Because we focus about how it makes us legitimately feel because it's unfair and someone's just kind of putting us down and being rude. But what does it say about the person? When they say who hurt you, it means like, I wouldn't have been hurt. I feel nothing in relationships when I break up. I feel nothing when I'm heartbroken. Ha ha, you're an idiot. Why do you feel hurt? Anyway, 3 Thrushes says, at 39, I decided to stop waiting, grew a pair and changed my life. 180. Quit my job, emigrated, started a business. That was 7 years ago. No regrets. Life begins when you say it does. That's a good comment. Life begins when you say it does. Make the choice. The power in just making a decision, I've noticed that the things I resist and procrastinate against, like say going for a run when I really don't want to, right? It's amazing when you, not your mind, but you just make this decision neutral and that's it. There's no discussion. I'm going to go for a run. It's amazing how your mind, when it realizes like, oh, I can't talk to this person anymore. It's amazing how your mind just doesn't interfere anymore, making a decision. But when you're kind of lazy and you're too general, you're too relative, it's like, well, I want to introduce my mind because I'm really clever and I want to see things from every angle. No, there's no discussion. You know you should go for a run. Yeah, but blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no discussion. It's not correct to have a discussion. You do what's right in this moment because there's an overwhelming feeling of maybe constructive guilt. Like, I ate 50 donuts. I went off my diet. It's been a week and a half. I only said I was going to do one day. Enough. That's it. The responsible parent comes in and it's like, I don't care whatever childish negotiation comes through my head. No. It's amazing what a decision from you can do to silence your brain. There's no discussion. We're not talking about it. I'm doing it. Later on, you can talk about it. But then after you go for a run, it's amazing how your mind kind of goes, yeah, you're right, human, yeah. Sheepish grin. The sort of procrastinating and waiting brain, the bad side of you, the lazy side of you, the side you wish you could change. It's amazing how silent or on board it gets once you take the step and just do what you should do, once you push through low level resistance and fear. First world fear. LL says, good morning, human. I'm currently in college and planning to go abroad, build a family and buy a house. Any advice on relationships with foreign women when I'm still learning the language? Which it depends on which language you're learning. Like I'm assuming you kind of know which countries you want to live in, because it takes a while to learn language and you're just not going to learn every language. Again, the more you kind of discover who you want, I wouldn't, again, being prudent, until you start to really solidify who you are in certain areas of life. Be open to many things, but once you start to discover who you are in certain areas, really try and lock those areas in, like lock in the language you want to learn, lock in when you want to have a family, and realistically know you've only got a certain amount of time given windows for women's fertility. Although in the next decade, with like the artificial womb looking like it might be a very realistic viability. A lot of Western countries starting to talk seriously about allowing male contraception like Vassal gel into Western so-called democracies. All that could change, but really look at who you are, travel, and find out what really fits you, and then learn the language in the thing that in the country or the areas of the world that really fit or attract you the most, and really fit your personality and what you want for the future. As far as I can see, a lot of woke Western countries are the least appealing at the moment. My choice, if I could choose, like knowing who I am now, if I could actually choose which countries I would be born in, it would be kind of colder climates like Scandinavian countries, things like that, and not Western countries. No. Because what do I need? Like the whole world's got Wi-Fi, internet. Like a lot of those, like I don't need big cities. I don't like. I got a supermarket, pharmacy, doctor. I got a good postal service, and I've got the internet. What else? I can live anywhere in the world in a relatively good country. No longer do you need to flood into New York or Melbourne or England or Paris. August Line says, I thought human was a gym bro. What have I been listening to all these years? Yeah. Look, I enjoy fitness, but life to me is maintenance, and I try and maintain all areas of my life, both physically and mentally, with who I think I know I am and like what works for me right now. I think that's the best we can all do. And you're always kind of changing and refining that thing as time goes on. Yeah, remember guys, hit the like, subscribe, comment, interact with the channel, join the channel, and if you want to ask me a question during the stream, if you're live here, super chat, I'll definitely see the comment, or throw 3 brightly colored emojis before your question, 3 circles, 3 yellow circles, and I'll see it. Nicholas says, fat chicks in yoga pants. That was a lighthearted video. And for me, I'm not going to apologize. Like, again, snowflakes that stumble across my channel and really get offended. I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about a personal experience. It happened to me. It was real. It's my opinion. If it's not yours, fine. I'm not shaming you. I don't care what it means. I don't care what fantasy narrative you're saying. This could mean this, and a person will feel bad about. I don't care. I really don't care. If I had a one-on-one conversation with someone who was fragile, I have the astuteness to realize I'm talking to someone who's overweight. I'm not going to shame them. I'm not going to put them down. I'm not even going to tell them what to do. I'm pretty sure someone who's overweight knows, has heard everything, has heard the messaging. They know what they want. I would maturely talk and be sympathetic to them. But from a distance, if we're going to talk truthfully about what's healthy and what's not, if you could press a button, if you were a certain weight and you could press a button to be a certain body type, what button would you press? Let's be honest. That's the truthfulness I want us to speak about. Accommodate people who aren't there, who struggle mentally, who through circumstance or life, that it's harder than other people. Yeah, sympathize realistically. But let's not pretend that we don't find ideal anything appealing, whether it's thinking, vocabulary, body types. Yeah, there's variations. Subjectively, it varies what I'm personally attracted to, what my kinks and things are. But if we're all objectively speaking and saying what we all objectively see as a beautiful person, we put a picture up, can we all agree that this person is above average in beauty? I'm not talking subjectively what you think of as a 10 out of 10, but what can we objectively think of as above 5 and below 9 that everyone can agree on? Yeah. It's not personal, objective. This person's attractive. That body is better than this body. I like it at the very least. I'm really heartened by the comment that some people, you get a lot of. I know my channel's not popular compared to a lot of the clickbaity channels or just kind of talking about what's wrong. That's entertaining. It's useful. I watch those channels too sometimes. But a lot of this stuff that's kind of very quiet and requires just a still conversation between one and another person. It's not a group conversation with microphones in our mouths yelling at each other. That stuff is popular, I know. But I'm heartened by the fact that you make little videos that matter to you, and a few people watch, and you get a few people saying, this was a great wake-up call. I was thinking about this stuff. I was talking about this stuff, and it really kind of made me, do the thing I was procrastinating on for so long. So that's good stuff because, my life got better when I did that stuff, or when I heard a phrase or read a line or watched a video, when I sort of really made the choice to, lift myself up off the cobwebs where I was and like go to a place and change a thing that I wanted to change. And I haven't looked back. I refuse to sit in that chair again. You've been sitting in the same chair for decades and you finally get up and you never want to sit back in that comfortable chair that's so wrong for you. It was fine. It was comfortable for a while, but now it just doesn't fit anymore. It doesn't feel good. Donna, not me. Donna said, hit the like button like I hit the wall. Thanks, Donna. Interact with the channel. Hit the unlike, hit dislike on a video if you like. I don't care. All that YouTube cares about is that you interact and click and type and do all that stuff. That's all they care about. Rocket says, I passed the wall so long ago I can't see it anymore. Yeah, I wonder, women always talk about like crashing through the glass ceiling. How come they never talk about horizontally crashing through the wall? Wouldn't that be liberating? That would be a liberating way to talk about it. Like, let's crash through that wall in our 30s. Then we don't have to sort of BS about it and fight the world. Like, now we can just own smashing through the wall. That's over. I'm not going to be 20 anymore. Stop having plastic surgery. Emmanuel Jose, thank you for the super chat donation. I appreciate it. He says, hey, human, chosen for what's feasible. You could find strength to quiet when silence would often break, or master your words for your fellow men. Yes. I'm guessing it's not your first language, Emmanuel, but I generally I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, and thanks for the super chat. Your words are very important. I keep saying it over and over again. It's not just that I'm interested, but when I try to master my words, like really speak well, learn to not just feel something, but process the what I feel and know through words and vocabulary. The feeling of that loop, the feedback loop of think, speak, think, speak, and how it relates to your self-esteem, knowing who you are and your security of who you are in life. That is when you walk around and talk to people, and when people are talking their politically correct BS, um, you can add your 2 cents in, and you can honestly speak rather than just speaking cliches and memes just to be social. You can actually speak honest words and engage in a conversation. And I've noticed sometimes that people kind of stop and listen to you. It's almost like, here's a person that's actually listening and speaking in the conversation, rather than saying what they need to say to elicit good feelings. When you hear people talk, whether you're involved in the conversation or not, sometimes in coffee shops, I'll hear it, and people will just be like, "Oh yeah, cliche, cliche, cliche. Oh, the people in the world and the famine and social media and blah blah blah." They're just kind of repeating memes to just elicit sympathetic feelings in that conversation. They're not really. They might as well not be there. They might as well said, "Here, I'll hand you a book of phrases I think are really worthy of virtue signaling. Take them to the coffee shop. I don't need to be there." Anyway, guys, I think we've been going for a while now. We've been going for just over an hour. Jeez, I thought we were going for 40 minutes. Let's wrap it up. Any last questions? I'm going to wrap up the stream in the next couple of minutes. Any questions to me you want to ask during the stream? Put 3 yellow emojis before your question or super chat me now, and I'll answer them, and we'll end the stream in a couple of minutes. And those of you in Australia like me, you can enjoy your wonderful Sunday. Really nice weather, mid-20s, cool enough to be inside without the air conditioning. You can be productive. You can sleep if you want. But outside, you get in the sun. It's beautiful. It's warm. You'll get sunburnt, suntan, most likely sunburnt. You're in Australia over the ozone layer hole. But anyway, yeah. Karu, how are you, man? Some comments I'll just laugh at and I won't comment on. But I appreciate them. Johnny Derb, thank you for the donation. It's an older meme, human, but it checks out. I don't know what that means. Was it something I said? Crummy VCR says, the war will never go away and neither will my gaze for something youthful. Personally, I'm over it. I don't care about a long-term relationship or sex. It's just commodity for commodity. Fair enough. However you can personally come to terms with it in your head and you're honestly okay with it and it doesn't frustrate you. I have no problem with guys who just want to hook up and they just see each other as women as objects, women see men as objects. Fine. But then later, when they get their heart broken, I feel like you're being a hypocrite because you were robotically not valuing people in an intimate way. People were just things to be used. And if you're openly being honest and saying, I want to use you for the night, no long-term relationships, let's be completely open and honest, we're just having fun with each other, blah, blah, blah. But what happens is one person develops feelings, makes it personal, doesn't talk about it, and goes, can you believe she was going out with another guy? And then when you investigate or look through their media history, it's kind of like they were on the platform of, I don't need anyone, we don't need men, guys don't need relationships, I'm just using people, I'm going to be free and single, I'm going to hit it and quit it. Then why are you using the language of intimacy and saying, can you believe that they weren't moral? They lied. They used me. They had another partner. They were sleeping around. Yeah, well, so were you until you decided you wanted something more from that person. You need to start dating seriously if you want serious. You need to change your life in a serious way, give it enough time to take traction and let that concrete settle. Then you can build those foundations of wanting something more. But if you're there casually saying, I'm just going to date casually, see what happens, rely on luck, and then blame women for not being intentional. You can't blame the other half for not being responsible and intentional, but you're going to be irresponsible and just take it as it comes and go with the flow. But you want luck to make your relationship for you. It's just one step away from wanting to win the lottery to solve your life's problems. You know, it's one step away from that. Anyway, guys, if there's no further questions, Rayleigh says, have you spoken about the Discord defamation? No, I briefly talked about it before. I said, yeah, my Discord server got canned because of people in it were typing, posting pictures and stuff that was like wildly, like it would get the channel cancelled. And speaking and posting that stuff all the time, if you're that kind of idiot, it's just a matter of time before Discord notices and it wildly violates their server. And there's no point saying, oh, the system, see, they just cancelled it. But you kept pushing it like a 5-year-old. It's like, act maturely. Talk about anything you want, but maturely. You notice I try to. Yes, I need to do it a bit more for censorship reasons, because if I'm on YouTube, I'm in their house, I need to play by their rules. But you don't need to say the worst things in order to communicate your points about things. Like I was talking prior to, you know, you want to talk honestly about like racism or inequality and stuff like that. There's a way to talk about anything. But if you're just going to talk ghetto about everything, then of course, look, if you're going to talk, if you're going to swear and be vulgar and rude, of course it's going to get cancelled. So there's a link in my About tab on my YouTube channel. There's a link to my Gilded server, not my Discord server, my Gilded server, because Gilded is a smaller, less PC kind of server where you can chat with microphones and have conversations like Discord. It's not as nice as Discord, but it's got most of the functionality. It's a lot simpler. So I encourage people who want to go to what used to be my Discord, go to my Gilded server. The link is in my About section. And chat there. I'll try and drop in whenever I can, but play nice. Thank you for deleting the spam messages, Donna. I've noticed I've gotten a few of them recently in my spam folder and in my normal one. Messages from, you know, girl 69 XYZ and things like that. You know, hot girls here, click here. So it's obviously spam, but just be wary of that stuff. I think it's been going on YouTube for a while, people pretending to be me. So if anyone pretending to be me is like you see, you think it's me, and even if it's got my icon, check the profile and see if it's coming from my channel. If it's got the amount of subscribers, like it's actually my channel, or just someone with my avatar pretending to be me and asking you for things and giving you links to click on. You know, if it's not obviously me, just trust your senses. Peg says, I didn't see the link for what was replaced Discord. I think I placed it a few days ago in my About section. Let me see if I can find it. About. Oh, okay. Maybe I haven't. There it is. There it is. I'll post the link here. But it's also in my, I just posted it in the chat, but it's also in my About section. So if you want to join the chat server, it's on Gilded now. It's not on Discord. Emmanuel Jose says, do you have any techno music suggestions? Yes. Daniel Deluxe, look him up on YouTube. He's awesome. selectively, deadmau5, very, very, very selectively, because he's got such a broad range of music, Carl Cox. So I don't actively go searching out for them, but my brother's, he's kind of more active in finding new names than I am. But if I just kind of go on my phone here, if I go to Belocca, Belocca, he's another artist on YouTube. Check out his music. I'm giving techno music. Anyway, let's stop this. Most people aren't interested in that. But yeah, I love EDM. I love electronic music. I love movie soundtracks, things like that. Oh, another guy that's really, really good is, I just discovered him recently. He's more like a cinematic, like he does really great mood music. He's Tony Anderson. He's awesome. You guys have probably heard a lot of his music in other YouTube vlog channels, but he's really good. Check him out. Centium says, Human, are you going to talk to Not So Erudite? She reviewed one of your old videos 2 days ago. No, I'll write her down. I think that was the same person that asked me previously that someone wanted to interview me. I'll check him out later. I almost spilt my coffee again, which is maybe a way of me ending the stream. So anyway, guys, jump on Gilded if you got a microphone. Crummy VCR says the future is only going to be profiles and hyperlinks. Yeah, there will be no connection, only tick for tat. People won't even think, who don't think always use people as placeholders. People who don't think always use people as placeholders. Yeah, I noticed that back when the last times I was dating. You go on a date and it's an empty shell, but online they're very active and they seem more alive. They say more. They're more of who they want to be. They're more animated online, which is kind of really peculiar. The real life version should be more animated and real, but because people live online, they don't actually feel like they have life offline. It's almost like offline is a body that goes to work, a body that goes to the supermarket, a body that goes to family gatherings, a body that goes on a run. So it's just the maintenance of a body, but the mind and the personality is not maintained in the real world. That is maintained offline. The mind and the body and the personality is almost living online now. And so when that mind and body and those profile pics end up on a date and you want to do that in the bedroom, it's kind of like you're both disappointed and you don't know how to act. Anyway, let's wrap up the streams. If there are no more super chats or comments or questions, sorry, directed to me. Have a great weekend, guys. Enjoy your Christmas. Hopefully there'll be another stream before Christmas and New Year's. I'll see you then, but definitely I'll see you in the next video during the next week. Have a good one. Have fun. Join Gilded, and I'll see my closer friends on my Discord. I've joined Discord, but a very private server for those of you who become close friends online. But if you want to have a public chat, I'll jump on Gilded and have a chat with you publicly, because that place won't get cancelled anytime soon. Hopefully. Anyway, have a good weekend, guys. I'll catch you soon. Bye.